What up, peeps? Dudes and dudettes. Let's wait for the crowd to join in. There's already comments. Check it out. There are already comments. No. Definitely need this. This is my thing, says Straya. 8 people are here. When does this end? It actually starts now. It ends when we think we're done. Bethany's here. Olivia's here. Ambryn is here. We'll wait because I think there's going to be a few people. Junior's here. What up, dude? I don't know if I've ever seen you on one of these. So we're doing the Facebook and YouTube thing again. If anybody is on YouTube, by all means, just let me know that you can hear me or whatever. We got 20 people. Michele is here. Willow is here. Willow, I learned you taught me, what is it? Doolally? I know Lost the Plot. I have never heard the other one before. So that was all new to me last week. Very good. I appreciate it. Lynn is here. Jay is here from LA. Thank you, Faith. I appreciate it. We'll wait for some folks to show up. I have a feeling, people are here, says Courtenay. Yeah, you never know. YouTube, Facebook, wherever. It's wherever the cool kids are at any given time. Misty is here. What up? We'll wait for some more folks to show. I have a feeling we're going to have a little bit of a bigger crowd. Angela is here. Delali. There you go. Well, I love British slang. I'm a huge fan of British slang. Like I like to know all the words if I can. Let's see. Hello, Craig is here. Natasha from Belgium is here. Awesome. We have some new folks. Brandy is here. 35 people. Savina is here. So we get people from all different parts of the world, it would appear. I know we have some UK people. We've been patiently waiting in line. Ingvild is here from Norway. Mandella is here. The usual suspects. Today we're going to talk about thinking. I'm seeing a whole lot of talk lately about thoughts. Hey, Maureen, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you again. So a lot of discussion about, how about this kind of thought? What do I do about this thought? What do I do about that thought? And Uncle Renee, skip beats and flutters are killing me. I hate anxiety so much. Nobody likes it, but those skip beats and flutters are not actually killing you. You just think they are. That's part of the problem here. Sparta 33 from Ireland. I love it. We got a big crowd today. This is kind of cool. Paris, this is awesome. All right, so let's talk about thinking. Thinking. From Buffalo, I went to UB, Brandy. 4 years in UB from 84 to 88, School of Architecture. So let's talk about thinking. I've started this now 4 times. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of discussion and a lot of questions. Hey, Sandy, a lot of questions that seem to revolve around, what do I do about this kind of thought? So it's the same questions that we see about symptoms. What do I do about my heartbeat? What do I do about breathing? What do I do about dizzy? But they're also, what do I do about this kind of thought? Now, what do I do about that kind of thought? Now, what do I do about that kind of thought? As if they're all different. So I'm just going to lay it out from the beginning so that you understand where we're coming from here. Every thought is the same as every other thought. The content from one thought to another will change. Sometimes you're thinking about possible health problems. Sometimes you're thinking about sports. Sometimes you're thinking about food. Sometimes, like the content of thoughts are all different, right? But just because the content of the thoughts is different doesn't mean that one thought is any more important or more dangerous or scarier than any other thought. Every thought is like every other thought. So when you are asking the question, well, what do I do about this thought? Now, what do I do about the thought that I'm going to have a panic attack? What do I do about the thought that I'm not going to get better? What do I do about the thought that I'm broken? What do I do about it? Doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter at all. A thought is just a thought. They are all the same. None of them is creating reality. None of them is predicting reality. None of them is changing reality. None of them is making the universe happen. And when they are fueled by fear and wrapped in fear that comes with anxiety, they are often just completely and utterly distorted. So you can't really take a thought and say, well, just because I'm thinking I won't ever get better, that's true. It's none of the thoughts are true, right? So especially when they're wrapped in fear and irrational fear, there's a huge lens of distortion that you're seeing the world through. So you have to first come to the conclusion that the thought doesn't matter what the thought is. I'm worried about something sacrilegious. I'm worried about dying. I'm worried about never getting better. I'm worried about my heart. I'm worried about this. I'm worried that I'm going to panic. It doesn't matter. They're all the same thought. They're all they're all irrational. They're all fear-driven, and none of them means a damn thing. So those of you guys in the Facebook group have seen me say a lot of times I use analogies like thinking about a peanut butter sandwich or thinking about cranberry sauce, like really and truly, a thought about what if I have a heart attack is actually no different than a thought about a peanut butter sandwich or a thought about cranberry sauce. They're truly not. Like if you really boil it down to it, they are truly not. So why does everybody get so damn wrapped up in the thinking, this thought, it's the thoughts. And then I hear terms like I spiral, I follow them down the rabbit hole, they take hold, my brain goes crazy, my mind goes out of whack. I hear all of these things. But in the end, you have to understand that thinking is a choice. Like we think all day long, that's okay, humans think, but how we handle those thoughts is a choice. We can choose to engage with them and have a dialogue with them and all of those things, or we can choose not to. And it's the choosing to have the dialogue. It's the choosing to follow them. It's the choosing to answer them. It's the choosing to try and rationalize them, especially scary thoughts. Oh, I better change that to a negative thought. Oh, I better change this to a positive thought. Oh, I better change it to something different. Oh, my mind is screaming that I'm going to die if I panic. So I better make sure that I tell it, I'm okay. Deciding to get into an argument with your anxious thoughts is a choice. You've decided to do that. Following the thoughts like, what if this happens and then this happens and this happens and this happens? Like all of those things are choices. You're making a choice to engage with irrational thoughts that actually don't have any bearing in reality. Why? Like, why does this happen? And I'm asking more than just about as much as I am telling. And it seems like so many people are so heavily invested in the idea that their thoughts are golden. Like my thoughts matter. If it comes from inside me, it matters. I can't resist that. It is me. It's part of me. I can't disengage with that. It's impossible to do that. And nothing could be further from the truth. So there are entire segments of the population of the world that, from a philosophical and spiritual perspective, spend tremendous amounts of time learning to be non-reactive to thoughts. So you look at people who are devout Buddhists, look at people who are devout Taoists. Like these people spend years and years and years, sometimes to the point where they devote their entire life to that, learning the skill of becoming non-reactive to their thoughts and their bodies and the world around them in general. Now, you may argue what the spiritual reason for that is or what the purpose of that is, and that's fine. That's an individual choice. But that it is a thing. It is a thing. Like you can learn to do that. Just because a thought originates in your head does not make it sacred, special, unassailable. You must follow it. You must have a dialogue with yourself. That's not true. It's just not true. And what I'm finding is that people who are heavily invested in thinking as an activity, as if it is actually protective or educational, or there's growth in thinking, or there's action in thinking. If you think that there is action in thinking, you need to realign, because sometimes there's action in thinking. We can think to learn, but we cannot think to change. Like, I'm sorry, we just can't. So there are words that I find that are common threads. Process, internalize. I have to process this. I have to internalize this. I have to incorporate this. I have to assimilate this. These are words I hear people say all the time. And in the end, we're going to talk about this. Misty, that's bad advice, by the way, what you're doing right here. I'm not going to let that go. That's distraction. 4 things to touch. That's terrible advice. That says I'm having a panic attack and I must do something to stop it immediately because it's dangerous. So we don't do that here. We don't do the 5 things, 4 things, 3 things, touch of steering. We don't do that. So that's the way it's going to have to be. Like, I know you want to say that, but that's bad advice, because when that doesn't work, then it gets even worse. Because I'm going to tell you, just for 30 more seconds, that there are now 65 people watching. I guarantee at least half the people watching have tried that and felt incredibly frustrated because they can't think of 5 blue things. And then it escalates from there. That's bad. So you got to abandon that thing. So let's get back to thinking here. You have to sit down and say, why am I so heavily invested in believing every last thing that comes out of my brain? Am I using terms like assimilate, incorporate, internalize? Am I doing those things? And because those sometimes are bad habits. Sometimes we're taught those things. Like you have to check in, you have to process your thoughts, you have to honor your thoughts, you have to honor yourself. Like just because you are learning to be dismissive of irrational thoughts doesn't mean you are invalidating your soul or your spirit or that you're any less of a human being. And when I talk about these things, some people get really angry because they feel like I'm taking away like their spirituality or their humanity in some way, as if it's important, as if every single thought that you have is somehow sacred, spiritual, and can never be negated. But that's just complete and utter nonsense. Like, why do we think that our minds look? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna throw it out there. And I'm gonna look at some comments. And Misty, I'm sorry that I jumped all over you, but that stuff, bang, makes my head explode. So if you are in an art, let's talk about, and I'm not going to start a political discussion. I'm just going to use it as an illustration here in the United States. Those of you who are in the US with me, we have a president. Some people love our president. Some people effing hate our president. Depending, I don't care which side of the argument you're on. Do you think that the people on the other side of the argument are thinking clearly that their thoughts are perfect and should be honored and must be followed? You don't. If somebody disagrees with you and you disagree with them vehemently, you love Trump, he hates Trump, or the other way around, you think that person is thinking complete and utter trash. So how come you could think another person thinks trash, but never yourself? Think about that. You are ready all the time to dismiss someone else's thoughts if you don't agree with them. Why must you follow your own thoughts all the time, as if somehow they are beyond reproach? So I'd like to try and get down to the bottom of what teaches people to do this and to say things like, I'm an overthinker. So I hear things like, I'm a thinker. I tend to think. I like to think. I'm an overthinker. These are things that you must sort of abandon in a way. And that could be really difficult for some people. That is really almost anxiety producing by itself. What do you mean I have to not be an overthinker? Some people have come to the faulty conclusion that thinking is protection, or thinking is action, and thinking is advancement, and thinking is growth, or thinking is a badge of honor and it elevates you. It doesn't. Sometimes it does, but many times it doesn't. Like our brains, and Dr. Seif, when I did the podcast episode with Dr. Marty Seif, he said our brains are capable of genius and of garbage. So let's know what the genius is and encourage that and run with that. And let's also understand when the garbage is there and when you're supposed to take it out. So that is the point. All the thinking, if you have decided that you are going to sit and think and think and think and think and think, and you are under the impression that this is part of the solution to the problem, I'm here to tell you it is actually the opposite. Every time you sit and get engrossed in your thinking and processing and thinking and trying to find a way, you are digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Because in the end, the solution to this is doing, or sometimes not doing. So you can break those bad thinking patterns, but you have to break them through action. All right. So I'm going to scroll back here, and I know everybody's thinking, everybody's asking, like, well, how do you stop? But how do you stop? But how do you stop? But I can't stop. First of all, you have to stop insisting that it's impossible to stop. Like every single person that's ever come before you has said that. It's impossible. I just can't. My brain goes haywire. I've heard my brain goes haywire. My thoughts go out of control. I spiral. You have to look at the way you are talking about these things as if they are forces beyond your control that the universe is pressing upon you, and you must do these things. You do not must do these things, and we can learn not to. Susie is here too. I'm seeing all kinds of faces that I don't normally see. I'm so happy to see you guys here. All right, so let's pop through and take a look. I know I just dumped a lot of words on you, and I know that some of it is going to sound upsetting or, going to rattle you a little bit and is going to make you frustrated. Like my thoughts are me. My thinking is me. Who am I if I don't have these things? I've heard that. You're still a person, even if you don't take your anxious thoughts and put them up on a pedestal. You're still a person. Like, there you go. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to look at comments. I'm going to scroll back a little bit here. Where are we? We're 14 minutes in, and that was just a lot of ranting. I get it, but like I cannot impress upon you enough how much of a problem the idea of thinking really can be for many, many people. And I'm going to pile a little bit more on top of that before I get to the comments here. That kind of goes along with introspection and digging. I must dig. I must dig. I must go within. I must look. I must examine. No, like going within, examining, thinking, because when was the last time you won an argument with yourself? Never. I'll answer it. Never. So if you're suffering from low self-esteem, or the belief that you can't, or the belief that you're wrong, or the belief that you are weak, or the belief that you can never get better, no amount of sitting on your sofa and going inside and examining and checking in and arguing with yourself is going to change that. You never win an argument with yourself ever. So the best you could do is to show yourself that you are not those things. This is why I say this is a doing solution. It's not a thinking solution. You are never going to convince yourself otherwise. You can only show yourself through experience that you are capable and competent of doing things that you think you can't do right now. Okay, so let's see here. No. From Buffalo, still working on my shit. Cool. The overthinking has reduced, says Jemma. I'm digging that. Excellent. But that only comes through practice. And you'll see that, believe me, I know people personally who would have claimed a year ago that they are chronic overthinkers and they will be for the rest of their lives, who no longer have that problem. It's just super hard work. Super hard work. Bethany says that it is never about solving a particular fear, which is true. And therefore, it is never about solving the particular thoughts either. But what about the thought that I'm no good? But I have low self-esteem. Everybody always has a but when I say these things. But my problem is I think that I can't. But my problem is I think everybody hates me. But my problem is I think, people don't like me. But everything is a but. It can't always be a but. Dude, that's my dog. I have a feeling my daughter's home. So he is chiming in. So let's see here. Barbara. Oh, Barbara's back. Cool. An episode 2 hours of PBC. Guess start unthink all over again. Sometimes old habits can come back. Barbara, it's good to see you again. An episode of 2 hours of PBCs. We're scared. And guess who's back here? Okay. I have to start to unthink all over again. This takes time, practice, repetition, and dedication. It takes absolute dedication. Like, you have a lifetime of bad thinking habits to undo. That ain't going to happen in 5 days or 3 days or a week or 2 weeks or probably a month or 2 months. Like, people dedicate their entire adult lives to learning the practice of non-reactivity and serenity. Like, this doesn't happen because I just told you to stop thinking. This will take some time for you to learn. And when you stop doing it because I'm feeling a little better, so I think I'm good, and you stop practicing, what happened to Barbara can happen. Old habits, fear comes back up, and boom, you go right back to old habits. So in the end, you're really just breaking habits. You're breaking bad thinking habits. You have to also get in the habit of not looking at the anxiety as a thing that comes at you. Like, oh, it was good, but now it's back and I can't resist it, so I'm back in my thinking spiral again. No. You control the thinking spiral. You're doing that, not it. There's no it. It is you. Let's see here. How about when your mind goes blank? Okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there are people who, like I said, they spend their entire lives trying to achieve a blank mind. So you may be talking about what happens when you can't think because you're afraid. Well, that's okay. You're demanding to think. So it's the same as demanding not to think. Like, people who are demanding I must stop thinking. I demand that I not be thinking now. Well, you can't really do that. It doesn't work. It's the same way. Like, I demand to think. I must think now. You can't do it. Like, when you just relax and let things flow, like, you'll think what you have to think. And I know Courtenay, I know the specific thing that you're probably talking about. Your mind goes blank while you're on the road. You're still here. You're here at the live video. You've never gone blank and crashed your car. Let's see here. Oh, no. My anxiety tells me it's not, even though I've had blood tests, and anxiety does suck. Yes, nobody loves anxiety. It sucks. That's totally true. That is totally true. But part of this issue, when I say it's not a thinking problem, and when I say you'll never win an argument with yourself, not only will you never win an argument about what you think, you'll also never win an argument with yourself about how you feel. So no matter how many times you are told your heart is fine, your blood pressure is fine, there's nothing wrong with you, you don't have diseases, fearful thoughts will always say, but what if he missed something? And then you'll be right back there. So you have to learn to disengage from that. And when we disengage with scary thoughts, let's talk about that. Let's follow that through. When we disengage with scary thoughts, we feel afraid because we think that thinking about them is protecting us. And so if you just let them be there, it's like letting your brain scream in your head, you are having a heart attack, or letting your brain scream at you that you are no good, or you are not smart enough, or you will never get better. Like, hearing those things is disturbing, but only by hearing them without resisting them and then seeing them not come true is the only way we will debunk them. So I know it's difficult to just try and put your chatter in neutral and let your brain throw scary, unintrusive, and disturbing thoughts at you. But this is what we have to learn to do. In the end, you are intentionally going into an uncomfortable place physically with panic symptoms that are physical, and also when you're breaking these thinking habits. But here's some news. Like, pretty much all the things we learn that are most important in the world are learned in uncomfortable places. Like, nobody learns important things in like super comfy, serene places. We just don't. Like, to learn the best lessons in life, those lessons are learned in uncomfortable spots. So trying to just constantly be comfortable and safe, you have to learn that you are safe by disengaging with all that stuff and letting it be really uncomfortable. It's so damn hard to let the bad ones go. I'm going to argue with you, Tara, and say it's really not that hard to let them go. It's like I said, I made the, if I was screaming in your face about politics or ideology or religion that you don't disagree with, that you vehemently disagree with and offend you, you would let that go in a heartbeat. You would give it no mind. You would literally turn your back on me, probably call me an ass and walk away. You can do the same thing to your own thoughts. Oh no, I'm having a stroke. Yeah, F you. I'm not having a stroke. I'm going to go over here and do my own thing. Go ahead, brain. You keep saying I'm going to have a stroke. You have a good time. I'm going to go over here and do my thing. Now, you will be scared when you do that, but you can do that. Or when your brain is screaming like you're never going to get better. Oh, yeah? Okay, you keep saying that, brain. I'm going to go over there and wash the dishes or play with the dog or take the kids to school or do what I want to do. You decide, you have your conversation. I ain't going to be in it. You can do that. Like, it's possible to do that. It's not easy. It won't feel right in the beginning, but when you do it again and again and again, you learn how to do that. Could this apply to depression as well? Depression is different. Depression is not an accept and surrender thing ever. So like, real clinical depression is the opposite. You have to challenge, but it's a doing thing for the most part. I'm not going to give a lot of depression advice here, but if you are depressed, the last thing you want to do is sit and think about why you're depressed. Like most therapists will tell you, you have to start challenging those thoughts with action. You got to get up, you got to move, you got to get yourself dressed. Even when you do not want to do it, you must show your depression that it is not as bad as, that's super oversimplified, but you have to act for sure to go past those hopeless thoughts, if you will. So there you go. What does Jan say? Jan always has good things to say. Last year I started fighting with my thoughts and I got so extreme. Yeah. You can't fight your thoughts. You can't fight your thoughts. Like, if I tell you not to think of a purple elephant, you're all thinking about a purple elephant right now, even if you don't want to. Angela has a really good point. Mindful meditation. Yes, Angela. Oh, thank you. Which, by the way, is the high five emoji, but everybody thinks is the praying emoji. That always makes me laugh. I just learned that, by the way. I'm acting like I'm all smart, but I just learned that. So what Angela's saying about meditation is absolutely dead on correct. Absolutely dead on correct. That is why I talk about that skill all the freaking time. Like, it's like learning a language. Start by doing 60 seconds at a time if that's all you can do. And a lot of people, especially the overthinkers or the my brain won't shut up or my brain is going haywire, will say, oh, I can't do that. My brain just goes haywire. Well, then you're going to have to work on that 30 and 60 seconds at a time, because when you get better and better at that, and Angela, if you're still here, feel free to chime in and answer here. But as you practice it again and again and again and again, like anything else, the first time you pick up the guitar, you suck at it. So the first time you try to meditate and selectively focus and quiet your mind, you will suck really bad at it. But that's okay. It's your first time. You got to keep doing it over and over and over. And as you get better at it, you will find what Angela's saying. Like, suddenly on demand, you can put your focus where you want it to be. So even though is going on in your head, I'm put my focus over there in a productive place. You can learn to do that. People just seem to not believe it, or they sit down, want to be quiet and still, and it's like, oh, now I'm face to face with my thoughts. I'm not drowning them out. They're there. Yeah, that's that uncomfortable place where growth happens. So I'm not saying that there's nobility in suffering, by the way, but Like there's growth in discomfort. That's where growth happens. That's where lessons are learned. Does it become a habit to think about anxiety? It does become a habit. Judy, this is a good question. It does become a habit, and it becomes a bad habit. Like when you are just consumed all the time with how you feel and what you think, it becomes a habit to constantly want to talk about and think about how you feel and what you think. So that is an important habit to try to break. Like anxiety cannot become the sole purpose for your existence. But that's part of it where like, well, you can get out and live anyway. And you'll learn that like, well, I don't have to talk about this all the time. That's the thing. There you go. This is exactly right. One of the cool things, and Maureen, this is good. My therapist tells me to observe the thoughts like I would watch clouds in the sky, to let them go without judging them. One of the coolest quotes that I hear repeated often is something about the weather. Like you're the sky, you're not the weather. Like the weather is something that just comes through and changes. Like you're the sky and your thoughts are just the weather. The weather blows through and there's rain and then there's sun and they change all the time. Like the sky is not the clouds. The clouds are something that float through the sky. Rain is something that happens in the sky. Thunder happens in the sky. It's not the sky. You're the sky. Your thoughts are the weather. Which I love that. That's pretty cool. I'm an overthinker. I do it a lot, but you can decide today to stop declaring yourself an overthinker. It's not going to make it change. You'll still be an overthinker, and start to work on fixing that. Like take an active process. Like, oop, okay, I'm gonna start to change that now. They tried to teach me that in therapy, and I hated it. It was awful, and I was getting myself into a state. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're talking about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. I saw that. Sorry. Talk about contradicting. Let's see. Okay. Talk about contradicting negative thoughts a bit. I find it useful. That's a thought, but it's useful. Here's the deal. I disagree based on the time frame. When you are rational, you can sit down and do that kind of work. And some people do that. They'll keep a thought journal, and it's a valuable thing. Keep a thought journal. When I panic or when I get anxious, I think this, I worry about this happening. You can write all the things down. Here's the number of times that I think about having a heart attack. Here's the number of times I think about having a brain aneurysm. Here's the number of times I think about going crazy. Here's the number of times I have actually had a heart attack, an aneurysm, or going crazy. 0. So when you are rational, you can lay the groundwork for thought. That's called fact checking and thought challenging. You can do that. But when your anxiety is getting up into a level 8, 9, 10, you are in full-blown panic mode. I do not believe that trying to convince yourself that this hasn't hurt you, say it once and then disengage. That's the best you could do, because repeating the mantra, this has never killed me, this has never killed me, this has never killed me, often backfires, because your brain will just keep, but it might now. No, you could say that 10,000 times, your brain will say 10,001 times, but this might be the time. What if? So I am not a fan of trying to counter negative thoughts in the heat of the moment. You can do that when you're more rational, before the shit hits the fan. And that's useful because it can lay the foundation for that. So that when you do that one dismissive thing that says, oh, it's that thing again that's never killed me, I'm turning my back on it, you've got a little foundation to stand on. No. Let's see here. At first, well, let me talk about this for just a quick second. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing, just to go back to that, the grounding stuff, that is generally used in something called dialectical behavior therapy, and it's used as an emotional regulation technique. So for people who are experiencing like flashbacks or really strong memories where they are literally in their minds not here at the moment, they are reliving a memory, they are beside themselves because of a danger that they perceive from the past or from another time. Those are often like, no, we're going to bring you back to now. You're okay. We got to talk about now. That's what that's all about. Let's see here. A lot of spiritual thoughts are things, but they aren't. Well, thank you for bringing that up. A lot of people are inundated all day long, and I'm going to try and scroll through here to catch up if I can. A lot of people every day are inundated with ridiculous things like manifesting and the law of attraction. And look, quantum and string theory says that we create the universe with our thoughts. When you see those things, please turn the page or unfollow that person or snooze them or just call them out for being an overly simplistic, like second grade interpretation of quantum physics. That's not true. None of that is true. Like, because somebody once read an article in HuffPo that completely dumbed down the incredible idea of like quantum entanglement, somebody took that and said, oh, see, that proves that I create the universe with my thoughts. And it doesn't say that. It doesn't in any way say that. But we are surrounded with that kind of bullshit. We're also surrounded by people who have a no more than third grade understanding of what the word energy means. That's another thing that frosts me, that causes a problem with this. Energy, your vibrational energy, the energy you put into, like, Jesus Christ, have you guys ever learned what energy actually is and how to apply that term? So there's a lot of bad information out there that does fuel the thinking habits. So Courtenay, thank you for bringing those up. And like, I'm going to continually like pound on those things with an aggressively negative hammer unapologetically. So there you go. Let's see here. Let me scroll up. I want to try and catch up. This is crazy. No. Where am I up here? Blank. What am I thinking? Yeah, it's okay. Well, that's that thing, Courtenay, where you're trying to demand, like, I must think now. I must think. This is good. When I think I can't walk, I get up and walk, might even run. That's excellent. I will tell you that in my worst days, when I felt like I couldn't feel my, I'm trying to catch up here. All right, here we go. When I felt like I couldn't feel my legs, like that was used to be a thing for me, I would get to my office and then jump like a frog. No shit. I would do this up the stairs to the second floor to prove to myself, like, my legs are just fine. So I did that. I think thinking too much is a desperate way to protect myself, like a safety behavior. Yes. Which it is. In most cases, it is. People think that, well, there's two things that happen. People think that thinking is protection. I have to think about these things and make sure I'm on guard, because what if I think this bad thing? I can't have that happen. Or if I think a thing, it might happen. So if I thought about it, then I'm prepared for it. They think that, or they think that, and the other side of why people get into the habit of thinking instead of doing is because they are hopeful that, look, thinking is easier than doing in the end. And some people get into the thinking habit because they don't want to confront the idea, like, oh, Jesus, I have to actually do stuff. I like when I go on a big rant against like energy, vibration, and like the law of attraction, and we lose 15 viewers. I enjoy that so much. Anyway, so yeah, there's two reasons why people get stuck in that. They're either taught bad thinking habits and what thinking means, or they're using thinking as a way to get around the actual work of confronting the uncomfortable feelings. No. Let's see here. This one. I suffer from TMJ as a result of it. That's a jaw thing. You're clenching. And it's really annoying. I know people have TMJ, so I get it, dude. It's not a fun thing. I'm sorry about that. The symptoms of the TMJ aggravate my anxiety and vice versa. How do you break the cycle when it's causing a physical problem? Well, first of all, you understand that it is a cycle. So that statement that you just made, the symptoms of TMJ aggravate my anxiety. That's the point you must attack right there. That's how you're going to break the cycle. You have just decided to tell everybody watching that when you feel those TMJ symptoms, and they're really unpleasant, I get it, that they aggravate your anxiety. No, they don't. The anxiety is something you make. So TMJ symptoms are unpleasant and uncomfortable, but just like somebody who broke their ankle may have pain and throbbing and heat and can't walk, they just don't look at that as dangerous and I must fight this, escape this, and call it a disaster. So Chris, I think the answer to your thing is you break it at that point. Like, when my TMJ is flaring up, I can feel that. I'm just going to let that happen. And I'm going to stop doing that brace, thing. So you have to identify the way you're reacting to those feelings, because you don't like the way your body feels and you're afraid of it. That's where you break that. That's where you break it. Sheri, I'm not sure we're talking about how do I sign up for what necessarily. No. What does Susie have to say? Susie has done, I'm going to put this up because you say, listen to me. Susie has done a tremendous job over the last, I don't know what, Susie, maybe 8-9 months, a year. Amazing. Just amazing amount of work has gone into where you are now. And I'm super proud of you. I'm always happy to see you. What do we got here? We got Poland. We got Morocco. Excellent. This is good, Misty. This is super good. I used to be a why person, asking why with everything, not anymore. And I know people who will defend that to the death. Like, nope, I will find out why, because if I know why, I will fix it. Okay, but that's not true. That is absolutely not true. In the case of these things that we talk about, the why is never going to fix it. It's not ever going to fix it. Because look, some of you have been following the podcast for a while now. Some of you have been in the group, the Facebook group, for a while. Some people have been reading Claire Weeks for a while, or following other anxiety coaches for a while. You know the why. We're all explaining it to you, but you're still here. So the why isn't fixing it. The why will inform the next thing, which is, what do I do now? So you don't really even need to know the why. I mean, you can do this without ever knowing the why. This is super important. The human brain has a negativity bias. That is incredibly important. That is shown time and time and time and time again. We will key on the negative, and that is part of threat assessment. We will look for the negative to think that we have to keep ourselves safe. That's important. So know when that's going on. Let's see here. Yes, so many of us has belief thoughts from childhood. It is hard work, dude. It is super hard work. And if you can trace that all the way back to being a kid, and you are doing the work to change that, man, high five to you. That is difficult work right there. Same approach, existential fears. That's in the beginning of the video, Maria, I actually said, people will say, yeah, but what about these thoughts? So if anybody who's watching right now, same thing. Just because, look, existential thoughts are things that some people actually enjoy having those thoughts. And one day you might actually enjoy having those thoughts. You'll be able to think them on demand and play with them and toss them around as an intellectual exercise, but the thoughts don't matter. So if you're watching and you came in late, there is no, but what about, okay, I hear what you're saying, Drew, but what about when I think this? Doesn't matter what you think. All the same. And by the way, let me and this is a thing that I learned from Marty Seif, and look, I'm incorporating stuff that I learned from everybody. I'm not inventing any of this stuff, but one of the things that I found so interesting when I did the podcast episode with him is that so often the thoughts that are scariest and most disturbing are the things that represent the opposite of what you really are. So that's also a useful thing to know. And we worry about them because we think we think thoughts will become impulses, which will become behavior. He talks about the whole thing. If you go to my website, theanxioustruth.com, search for Marty or Martin Seif. I think it's SIEF, and you'll find the episode with him. If you haven't heard it, it was really good. He's an expert on intrusive thoughts. He writes extensively on intrusive thoughts. No. Habits come back this week. Habits. Thank you, Houston. Habits, not it. See, like Bethany's another person that's done a tremendous amount of heavy lifting over the last year or more, and I know beyond that before I ever knew you. But yes, habits came back. Or for anybody who is, whether it's the thinking thing or the rest of the anxiety thing, it came back. No, you just stopped doing the thing that you know you're supposed to do and started doing the things that you know you're not supposed to do. Well, what do I do now? It's back. Reverse that. Start doing the things you know you're supposed to do and stop doing the things that you know you're not supposed to do. I know it's not that easy, but that's always the answer when it comes back. Let's see what Debbie has to say. If every single time your voice in your head talks, you think that it is you're going to have a problem. Yeah, that's true. That is putting the car in cruise control leaves me out of control. Yeah, like in the end, we have tremendous amounts of control. Like I think all day long too. Everybody does. Like every human being just thinks all day long. We just do. It's rare to have. You have to work hard. I have to work to get to that sort of not blank mind, but quiet mind. It's not a natural state. Now, maybe if you become some sort of Zen master or you just live on a mountaintop and meditate all day long, you can reach that. But most of us are thinking all day long. But when you learn these skills, it becomes incredibly powerful because you dismiss the thoughts that you don't need at the moment. You file them away. You come back to them later. You know, you refine them over time instead of them pushing to the front and being intrusive. Like you focus and you think intently on the things that are important at the moment. You accomplish things. Like there's a tremendous amount of benefit to embracing your bad thinking habits, admitting to them and accepting the idea that you can change them with hard work. You can't become a totally different person and nobody's asking you to, but when you accept those bad habits and you embrace the possibility that you can make them better, man, a lot of good stuff happens. A lot of good stuff. Thoughts are neutral. You make them good or bad by what you do with them. That is true. And that's a stoicism thing. There's, the reaction is what matters, not what happens in the world. And Leslie, it's important that you just say that too. I can see this so clearly, but it still requires practice to not react. That is true. That is absolutely true. Just because you know that doesn't mean that you can live it 24/7. It takes practice. Like it's taken me a lot of practice to get to this stuff. You stated how much effort I had to put. Oh, good. Okay. Well, you hated it, but let's see here. The amount of time I spent made me think like I was failing. Yeah. Like it's just like anything else. Like if you're trying to, get into better shape or you're trying to whatever, like, you want to compete in the Olympics, you're going to spend a huge amount of time in the gym and training and practicing and stuff. Like the practice time isn't failure. The practice time is what gets you to the gold medal. So that's kind of important. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Let's see. I'm not pretending I was looking for that lift all the time to make me forget that I was once very anxious. Well, Judy, I think you don't need a lift. You don't. To me, I don't think you need a lift. You just need to say like, "Oh, I'm remembering that I used to be an anxious person." Okay, I have memories. So just reframe that when it happens, like as opposed to saying, "Uh-oh, I'm thinking about when I was anxious. I better go find something to lift me out of that." No, no, no. Like the better way to do that is to say like, "Oh, what am I doing right now? Oh, I'm remembering. I'm remembering." Oh, okay. That's fine. You're allowed to remember. We remember stuff all the time. That was then, this is now. So there you go. I know I'm like oversimplifying a lot of this, but it's thing. Ooh, this is good, Bronwyn. Thank you for bringing this up. I feel like if I give it attention, I can control it. That is huge. So thank you for putting that out there, because I have heard many people say that too. Like the thinking is a safety and control thing. If I think about it, if I assimilate it, if I internalize it, if I wrap my brain around it, if I process it, that means I can control it. But that is absolutely not true. Let's see here. When I said, "What if this time?" I'll put Jay to sleep with my whispering. I'll start crumpling paper in a second. Good, Amber, and you got to keep working at it. I know this is new to you, and I know you're working hard too, but you'll get there. You'll get there. And Bethany is echoing what I said before. It does feel scary to ignore the dangerous thoughts because you think that you are giving in to some sort of horrible fate, but you're not. But you're not. There you go. No, not for me. No. The ASMR, does it really work? So people love ASMR shit, man. I don't get it, but some people say ASMR is fascinating to me because some people have like an actual sensory response to that. In fact, that's what it is. Something sensory meridian response. Some people hear the crinkling paper and they get tingly. It's cool. The conscious mind can go blank, and just the subconscious would be, I realize I can still walk. Okay, thank you. This is good. Sarana, good to see you here. Always a pleasure. I realize that I can still walk even if I don't consciously think of my walking. Oh, yes. And like that was a big deal for Sarana, right? Like I remember that was the walking across that parking lot was like a huge thing. So you can put your trust in the fact that we are engineered to do certain things automatically. It's all good, right? Let's see here. No. I have thoughts around my medication. It is 12 hours. So I wonder if taking it calms my heart and makes me not confront the feeling. Well, I don't want to get into a medication discussion, but many would argue, and I might be among them, that yeah, like if you have a heart condition, then of course you take your heart medication. But if you're taking like a beta blocker, something that ends in OL, propanol or something like that, and it's designed to just lower your heart rate so that you don't have to feel that scary heart thing, many would make the argument that yes, you are trying to escape a thing that does not need to be escaped. Okay, here you go. I think way too much about what people are thinking about me being judged if I'm making sense. That's also just a thinking thing. So to me, and I'm going to wrap it up in a few minutes. I'm going to get to the bottom and wrap it up here. I can tell because people are falling off the cliff here. So Eric, many people have that problem. And we talked about that the other day when I did the live video at the end of last week, which was the past is not a prison. So many people suffer from that. They are crippled by what do people think of me? They think I'm not good enough. I think I'm not good enough. I think you have to remember two things. Thinking about what somebody thinks of you is not protection because you don't actually know what they think of you. And even if they were to say to you, "Hey, Eric, I think you're a jerk," so what? That doesn't actually make you a jerk. So there's two things I can give you. Understand that you are only thinking and you are trying to predict and somehow control what that person is thinking or feeling, which is patently absurd. You wouldn't try to use your thoughts to control the stock market because you know it wouldn't work. So why would you use your thoughts to try and predict and control what other human beings are saying about you? It's a pointless exercise, right? And the second thing is, and this is a little bit more of a confrontational, more aggressive way to look at it, nobody gets to speak things into reality. We don't get to speak things into reality, nor does anybody else. Like, nobody would think that my thoughts would create reality. Like, so why would anybody think that what somebody else thinks about you make it true? Just there's something to chew on. Now, these are rational arguments and you won't believe them anyway, but they can form the basis when rational, like now in a discussion, you can say, "Oh yeah, I remember this, and this." Like nobody gets to speak my reality into existence. Do not let somebody speak or think your reality into existence. That's crazy. Nobody gets that right. Nobody gets that right. Only you get the right to make your reality. So take it and run with it. Don't let somebody else Don't give that right to somebody else, considering they don't even know they have it and they couldn't even do it if they wanted to. So that's important. Let's see. Drove home and was so happy to be safe in my car. That was an incredible, wonderful thought. Well, I know, because if driving anxiety is a problem, then yeah, that is a thing. Like you couldn't imagine, like, how could somebody feel like safe in their car? And my friend, trust me, like I was you once in the car, like just absolutely like racked with, there's no way I could drive another 50 feet. Now I don't give a rat's ass. I would drive across the country. I would be super bored, but I would do it. So it can change. I'll feel the fear and do it anyways. It's a super old quote, but it's quite accurate. It is quite accurate. What about the subconscious? What about it? If you're asking what about the subconscious, I don't know what role it plays here. Some people talk about the subconscious as if it's some sort of thing like, yeah, but my subconscious takes over. No, that's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. Like there's a lot of discussion in behavior. Like, look, and I'm a dyed-in-the-wool behaviorist, especially in my circles. The analysts talk about the subconscious. So the subconscious, there's no proof that it exists. So I'm not sure. You're putting a lot of stock into something that we don't even know is real. The subconscious, like it's this uncontrollable thing that makes you do things without you being aware of it. I think that we are aware of most everything we do, sometimes at a quieter level. But if you stop and really look at your behavior, like as opposed to your thoughts, and say, well, why do I did a thing? What was I trying to accomplish with that thing? You can unmask a lot of that stuff. So I'm not a fan of like the subconscious is controlling my stuff. I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying. What's the difference between realizing thoughts and self are separate and talking to yourself? I'm always afraid I'm going crazy by talking to my brain. Well, that's a lot of thinking about a natural process. Like we all sort of talk to ourselves. Like that's sort of what thinking is. I mean, we get a little bit philosophical about this, but Ciara, I think you're just overthinking the thinking now. Like, well, if I'm having a conversation with myself, like, if you're going about your day, it's like, oh, what I got to go on today? I have to go to the supermarket today. I got to get gas in the car, get the oil change. I have a meeting at 3:00. Like that's internal dialogue that we all have during the day. It doesn't mean you're going crazy. So I think you're taking a normal function and maybe putting stuff on top of it. It doesn't need to be there, if that helps at all. Thank you. This is super important. Thank you for repeating that. Yes, act as much as you can and a little bit more. That is huge, huge. What up, DeLuca? Challenge the thoughts is a very effective strategy. Calling it, yes, very good. If you're going to kill me, kill me. Yeah, that's totally cool. Like I'm good with that. I'm good with the response to the thought being, go ahead and kill me. Go ahead. Like, that's a good response. And then like, go ahead and kill me. That's like telling somebody, go ahead, hit me right here. And when you do that, you got to stick your jaw out at the dude, right? Go ahead, hit me right ahead. I'll give you one shot. And you got to put your hands down and let him take a swing. So when you tell that thought or that sensation, go ahead and kill me, you got to put your hands down and let it take a swing at you. That's how you learn that it doesn't punch that hard. Everybody thought that was praying. Like everybody used it as praying. I just learned that it's a high five. Who knew? They could be praying. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Everything I thought I knew is a lie. Oh, wow. I see, but we rocked our world with that. The praying. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I got the Muse meditation headband. Interesting. I don't know what that is. Is that like a biofeedback thing? I know that there are a bunch of devices out there that you can buy. Some are super cheap. Some are a little more expensive that measure your breathing or your heart rate. Like a lot of times heart rate is used to teach meditation. Because your heart rate will naturally get slower as you slow down. So if biofeedback mechanism might be good. I don't know the Muse, but if it's working for you, then that's awesome. Good meditation apps. I have no horse in the race. I like the Calm app, CALM. Headspace people love too, and another one that I know people really love is Insight Timer. So those three I hear. I like Calm. I don't know Headspace or Insight Timer, but a lot of people love those two. So Michele, if that helps, you can check those out. Let's see. My counsel, make friends with my thoughts. Yeah, it's totally cool. You can do that. I think what winds up happening, make friends with your thoughts is a thing that you can do when you are done being afraid of them. So I would add a little bit of a caveat on that. If you are gripped with the idea that your thoughts are terrifying to you, it's hard to just decide, be my friend now. Now, first you have to learn not to be afraid of it a little bit, let them be, and then you can start to cozy up to them. When I said before about existential thoughts, you can start to, I wrote that actually in one of the parts of my book, where like when you learn not to fear the thoughts, you become the master of them. You can play with them like toys. Then they are your friends. So there you go. I get confused. When I practice, I feel like I'm not able to accept my thoughts and surrender to them, while also being like, I don't care, this thought is wrong. If I shift my focus away, it feels, no, it's not. It's actually not avoidance. That's a good question, Maria. So let me address that really quickly here. 49 minutes. So it's not avoidance. Avoidance is this. Avoidance is, I'm going to turn up the radio. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to do a puzzle. Like, that's avoidance. Avoidance is when you're going to try to drown them out and push them away. That's avoidance and escape. When you do this thing where you disengage with them, you will still hear them. So that's how you know. It's a subtle thing, but that's how you know. You will still hear them. You will turn your back on them. And what the analogy I use all the time is like, you know, you're at a bar with your friends and there's a drunk guy. He's on his 10th beer and he's just, he's being a real jerk. He's hitting on you. You can't kick him out of the bar because you don't own the bar, but you can turn your back on him. You will still hear the drunk guy in your ear. You just won't pay attention. That's not avoidance. That's just a refocus. Common headspace. There you go. Let's see here. You know, it's too much when you prefer to think overdoing your hobby. So for some people, thinking it becomes almost a hobby or an obsessive, it becomes an obsessive activity. How do you see the thoughts as just clouds? Seeing the thoughts as just clouds is, it's just an analogy that says, you know, the thoughts are clouds just because the weather isn't the sky. So I'm not sure how you can try and visualize them as clouds just floating in. When you're learning basic meditation, many people will teach you that. Imagine that a thought just floats in like a cloud and then it floats out. Some people literally will say, like, imagine the thought floating out of your head like a cloud. So there's some imagery that goes along with that. But when I say the thoughts are just clouds, they're not the sky. The clouds are in the sky. They're not the sky. So if you just sit long enough and do nothing, that cloud that you see will go away. It'll either dissipate or it'll fly out of your field of vision. Same thing with thoughts. Same thing with thoughts. No. I love learning, thinking, researching. Okay, let's talk about this. This is good because I am the same way. I am an informationaholic. I love learning new things every single day, trying to learn new shit, right? So that's cool. But where do you direct that? So Bonnie, I'm super glad that you brought that up. Most anxious people are intelligent, creative, and overthinkers. No. I don't like that statement. I mean, we might be intelligent and creative and like we're devastatingly good looking. We know that, but I don't know if I'm going to say, well, we're overthinkers. I'm not an overthinker and I was as anxious as the next guy. So I think that's a cop out that says like, well, most anxious people are overthinkers. So you're giving yourself an excuse. I don't like that. I don't like the label as all anxious people are super intelligent warriors, ultimate strong men, and overthinkers. No, we're just humans, and humans come in all different shapes and sizes. But what I want to talk about is, what about giving yourself something different to focus, research, and learn about? Yeah, that's like a really good idea because you can learn to refocus on something more productive. Like, honestly, this weekend, I spent a lot of time like listening to lectures about, believe it or not, like the history of the Roman Empire, early Roman Empire. Is it going to change my world? It ain't, but it's interesting to me. So you can research, learn, and focus on things other than the things you are afraid of. It's not a bad thing. No. I got it online, blah, blah, blah. Many people say it did not help them. Okay, let's see here. Thank you. You need to practice it every day, not only for the 20 minutes you sit down. Yes, that is absolutely true. People who say, look, I've heard people say like meditation doesn't work for me. We're down to 59 people, so I could tell it's time to end it. People will say meditation doesn't work for me. It's like, I've heard people say like, my analogy for that is this. If you tell me that you don't like the color of this room, then I will say to you, then you're going to have to paint it. And if you say, well, I'm not good at painting and I don't like to paint, well, then you're going to have to live with the color of the room. It ain't going to change. So people who are like, tell me how to make this better. Tell me how to stop being an overthinker. Tell me how to quiet my mind. I'm not good at meditating. I don't want to do that. Or I don't want to do that. You can't have all of it. Like if you want a thing, you got to learn how to do a thing. So that's true. No. When panicking, no amount of rational thoughts. That is correct. That is correct. Meditation has been a process. It is reasonably priced, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'll let it go. Let's see here. Don't try to convince yourself that you're not afraid. This is super key. Anybody who's still hanging around, 64 of you hanging around, that is super important. Do not try to convince yourself that you are not afraid. You are afraid. That's the object of the game. So when you disengage with those intrusive thoughts and you feel like you're vulnerable because you're not arguing and not thinking and not processing, or you're disengaging with the physical sensations of panic and you feel vulnerable, you are supposed to be afraid. Like you are actually supposed to be. The object of the game here is to experience fear, but with a positive outcome. So that thing to say like, well, I can convince myself that I'm not afraid. I'm okay. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. No, you are afraid. You're supposed to be. No. DBT is also wise mind, rational mind, emotional mind. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. That's part of DBT. There's a bunch of different ways to look at that. Yes. Holly is late again. That's all right. Ain't no thing. It's still here. So you'll be able to see this back. It doesn't matter. You came in late. All good. I need to squash those. Let's see here. Wow. There's a lot of comments. Sorry, guys. I'm just never going to catch up here. I'm going to try. Whoa. I am missing a lot here. I see the law of attraction, frustrating that. No. How do I stay consistent? Okay, here we go. I study science of mind. Create what you're thinking about. There's a wisdom too, but it's not the secret. Actually, here's a funny story. So if you guys are in the Facebook group, you know that Jay is an admin in the Facebook group. Love Jay. Jay and I are buds. Dude, I love you. Our very first interaction was Jay was angry that I shit all over the law of attraction on one of my YouTube videos. So the very first thing Jay ever said to me was, why do you got to go there? Why you got to take it to that level? And here we are all buddies. So there you go. Look, you don't create anything with your mind, but certainly if I want this, if I am thirsty, I must think about this glass of water and think about picking it up and then do it. So yes, there's truth to that. I just have such a huge problem with the idea that this is manifesting stuff. So that's not a thing. Oh God. No. Your energy is negative or your vibration is not high. Fire your therapist. You are dealing with an anxiety disorder. Your therapist should not be talking about high vibrational energy. Seriously? Ooh, that stuff burns me. That is not okay. That is not okay. High vibrational energy. Never mind. What about things triggered by emotions? Emotions are okay. There's nothing wrong with being emotional or crying. But I'm going to throw this right at you here. And I know, don't take this the wrong way, but what about this thought? But what about depression? But what about emotions? But what about things that really happen? I'm going to say, Mandella, you have a habit of constantly looking for the exception, but what about? And meanwhile, at this very moment, you are quite competently living your life. So you're going to have to back away a little bit from thinking that every particular circumstance that you encounter requires a special anxiety or depression focused result. It does not. Most of the day is just life and you're good at it. So there you go. Let's see here. Okay, that's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to have thoughts that go with emotions. Like we don't have to learn how to engineer everything in the context of anxiety. Sometimes we're just super sad or angry or disappointed and we cry or we yell or we shake or whatever we do. It's really okay. Most of the time, I have no idea what I'm thinking about. It's like it's a big jumble. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Keep moving forward. Okay, this is good. I have days of overthinking, but I've learned to just keep moving forward. Very good. I don't have time for it anymore. When you're haunted. Well, the first thing you have to do is stop saying that you are haunted. What's happening is so you keep moving forward. I think what you mean, Victoria, is that keep moving forward means I rush around all day and stay as busy as I possibly can so I don't hear the thoughts. And then at nighttime, there's no more rushing around to do, so now I hear them. So when I hear somebody say that, nighttime is a horror, nighttime I am haunted, nighttime is a nightmare, nighttime is hell, that usually means that you are trying to spend your days drowning out those thoughts. When what you really have to do is take some time to sit quietly and let them be there. There's a huge discussion going on that I'm just getting like notification after notification. Donna's here. What up? That is why when we are busy, thank you, we don't notice anxiety thoughts. Correct. So if you make yourself busy, everything will be good. But then when you're not busy, so you got to learn how to do this when you are not busy. I cannot even imagine this is a thing, Leslie. If you think hard enough about a red bike, it will appear. And then people forget it. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. Beautiful day for hike. Excellent. Here it's crappy. I so like love where Donna lives. Donna, one day I got to come out to Oregon and just see all your cool shit. What does Bree have to say? Good to see you, Bree. I love your no bullshit approach. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that helped you. Yeah, this is just the way I know. I don't know how to do it any other way. So there you go. What is TMJ? TMJ is temporomandibular joint disorder. It's a problem with your joint that sometimes comes from clenching and clenching and clenching. There's clicking, there's misalignment. It could be painful. There could be headaches. There could be visual problems and sinus problems that go in TMJ. It's basically a problem with your joint here. People that have TMJ also sometimes have pain, clicking. That's TMJ, temporomandibular joint disorder. I think long and hard about anxiety, and it appears, yeah. So like, maybe don't do that. Let's think about something else. Judy's such a smart ass. We're here because we enjoy it. Oh, all right, that's cool too. I had a tooth crumble from doing that. The clenching thing, right? That can happen. What up, Straya? I got you a half hour later, but still. Wying is a major anxiety feeder. How do you improve concentration during depressive and anxiety conditions? Somebody posted a link up here, by the way. If any of the admins knows that person is in the group, feel free to bounce them because I don't know what that link was. I'm guessing it was not a link we want. Maybe it was Dr. Magic Finger. I miss him. So let's see here. What is that? Goodbye. And this too. Goodbye. So let's see here. That needs to be deleted. Okay, so let's see here. I had you in my head today driving. Oh, that's not good. I shouldn't be in anybody's head. Went in the wrong lane. Oh. Good for you, Deb. That's a big deal. I know that it is. He probably had some choice words to say about you, but that's all right. It doesn't mean you're wrong. You're a good person. No. There you go. I'm fully aware of that. Well, Marcy's also done the work and a lot of work. So yes, you can be aware of that. You can be aware of when you are ramping yourself up because we do it to ourselves. That is not a subconscious process. Oh God. No, hypnosis does not help. I'm tired of hearing from the hypnotist too. Amber, we need to get you out of wherever you are. I'm joking, but I think we're going to send a helicopter and just airlift you out of there because I'm hearing vibrational energy and hypnosis. Ouch. Excuse me. Let's see. Self-hypnosis. Yeah. Self-hypnosis becomes that's a different animal though. Like some people do practice that they call self-hypnosis, but that's slightly different. That's a little bit different animal. That's definitely a focus thing. It's a repetition thing. I'm not sure that I'm on board with the idea that has to do with neuroplasticity, but that's okay. If it's working, then that's cool. Ain't costing any money, so there's nothing cool. Oh, cool. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, I just blocked that person from the page. So that's fine. How do you know the difference between disengagement and dissociation? Disengagement is something that you do intentionally. Like, oh crap, I'm having that thought again that I'm never going to get better. So I'm going to disengage with that thought. Dissociation is what we call depersonalization and derealization. Technically, if that helps you. Someone told me once to say, I hear you and I feel you or listening to you, but I'm not listening to you. Sorry. Some people use analogies about driving. Like, come on, you can go for a ride, but I'm not going to let you drive the car. I've heard that. Ciara likes to think of that as butterflies. There's a ton of stuff that you can do. Let's see here. Does this come after you stop being afraid of them? I'm not sure. Like I don't see the threads here. I don't see this. So I'm sorry. Some of it is missing, but if Danny is answering you, then listen to Danny because Danny knows what she's talking about. Oh man, I am late, says Destiny. It's all good. You're all welcome here anyway. I don't want to meditate. If I don't meditate, does that mean I'll not get past this? Well, meditation is Courtenay. Meditation is a super valuable skill. It helps you to quiet your mind and focus where you need to focus on demand. So think of it as focus practice and maybe reconsider that. I don't want to meditate. Like I would say, why? Unless you're just being a smart ass, which you might be. It's possible. Often there is no schedule. I thought of doing this about 3 hours before we did it. Sorry, Annie. It is what it is. I think you could set an alert. I don't know how Facebook does that. You might be able to set an alert in the group, like when something gets posted or when I post something, it's possible. Colleen is here. It's all right. Ain't no thing. Let's see here. He might, he might have to. All right. I caught up. I'm super happy. I can't believe there's still 61 people there. Does anybody want to ask any other question? I've gone for an hour and 4 minutes. Uncle Renee, you are God. Oh, thanks, dude. Well, hopefully it's working out for you, you know? Ingvild didn't meditate and she's fully recovered, but I hear it's a good thing. Here's what I love about Ingvild. Ingvild will tell you, I didn't meditate. I smoke. I eat copious amounts of chocolate and I'm still good. She's a rebel. And I dig that. Good job, Norway. Yeah, you can't pin down a spontaneous genius. I am diametrically opposed to like having a calendar of events to do. So does anybody else? I just don't want to. Okay, well, you don't have to, but I guess the answer to your question is it's a super helpful tool. Super helpful. So when you're on the highway and you start to feel that thing ramp up that says, uh-oh, I'm going to panic. This is dangerous. I'm going to die on this highway. Meditation, when you practice it, and I don't mean spiritual higher plane of existence. I mean just the ability to quiet your mind can help you get out of that spiral. But there you go. All right, guys, I don't see any more questions. I'll give it another 2 more minutes and then we're out of here. I will leave this. Let's see. What can I tell you while we're here? Wednesday, I will release another podcast episode of The Highway. You're funny. You're going to get on the highway. You will. And then when you do it, like, I want to hear about it. I have faith in you. On Wednesday, I'm going to release episode 106 of the podcast. My friend Monique came back. Monique Coven. We talked about building a sense of safety. So for those of you who are always worried that like, no matter what I do, I cannot seem to feel safe. We talked about that and what you have to do to build, how you build a sense of safety and security instead of just hoping for it to happen. That's going to come out on Wednesday. And then I think the week after that, I am going to do the difference between angst, like stress, and an actual anxiety disorder. So those are the next 2 podcast episodes. And since everybody ultimately asks me, I've got about another 7 days worth of work to do on the book, and then hopefully we'll be able to get that released right after that. So there you go. You're welcome, Jay. Anytime, dude. Let's see. Oh, I'm curious to know what you think about neuroplasticity in regards to panic attacks. Okay, here's the deal about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is one of those grossly overused things. Now, you can use it as a catch-all in terms of our ability to learn new things. Technically, is that neuroplasticity? Yeah, it kind of is. But that term really developed out of things like stroke recovery. So people who suffer traumatic brain injuries, like major brain injuries, who forget how to talk or speak or walk or feed themselves, neuroplasticity says that other parts of the brain can learn those functions and take over. So that's where neuroplasticity comes from. Call it neuroplasticity if you want. It's really just the ability to learn through experience. So I don't believe that the actual concept of neuroplasticity, that would imply that somehow there's been damage done and other parts of your brain are going to compensate. And that's not the way this works. Panic attacks. You're just leveraging your ability to learn experientially. Everybody has that. I guess you can call it neuroplasticity, I guess. So hopefully that helps. That's my opinion. There you go. Good night, Willow. Hope you sleep well. You could take time to do something, take a shower, mindfulness, blah, blah, blah. Feeling highly alone is getting to me. You're not alone. We're all here. I know you got friends too, but I get it. But you're doing great. You're still standing and you will be for a very long time. All right, peeps, I am out. I think I've got all the questions here. Thanks for coming by and hanging out for an hour again. I will see you whenever I decide to do the next one. Later. And the broadcast.